And I remember thinking to myself, is this it? Is this what my life is going to be? This awful, awful cycle.
A series of relationships defined who Dede Nesbitt was, a woman desperate to be truly loved by a man. It started when she was a child. Dede thought her dad loved her sister more because of her sister's musical talent.
My sister started playing when she was 2.5, 3 years old. And everywhere we went, he would ask her to play something. And that's when it sort of became, he likes her a lot more than he likes me.
Dede was raised in church, but threw her morals aside at age 16. She hoped her boyfriend would eventually marry her. Unfortunately, all he wanted was sex. And not just with Dede. In fact, he got another girl pregnant.
I was completely devastated. I was hurt. I had shame, rejection. I didn't feel like anybody would love me anymore. There was something wrong with me.
She broke up with him and began a 7-year pattern of dating different men, sleeping with each one. She kept hoping that sex meant love, but each time the relationship ended.
I was completely done with men. I was sick of being used. I was sick of being hurt. I was sick of putting in my life and my energy only in the end to be run over and left.
Her animosity didn't last long. Dede was soon with yet another boyfriend, and this time discovered she was pregnant. She wanted to keep the baby. The boyfriend did not. Willing to do anything to keep him from leaving, she reluctantly agreed to an abortion.
I believe that I didn't have a choice, that I didn't have an option. From the time that I looked up the phone number to the procedure being done, this day I regret it.
The relationship eventually ended. Dede started dating another man and became pregnant again. She vowed this pregnancy would be different.
I had already determined in my heart that I'm going to have this baby. I had already been to the obstetrician a few times, and I was on prenatals, and everything was going great.
Nearly 3 months into the pregnancy, her boyfriend revealed he did not want the baby and would take drastic action if she didn't abort it.
He called me and said, "I'll kill myself if you don't go through with this abortion."
Dede was afraid he might do it and agreed to another abortion.
To make the appointment, to look the phone number up, it was like all these long, drawn-out steps, even though it was about 4 or 5 days later. It just felt like an eternity, and I was so heartbroken.
Dede sank into a deep despair, needing antidepressants and sleeping pills to function.
I was able to cope, but only for the 8 hours that the medication was in my system. You know, I would pop it in the morning, and by the 5, 6 p.m., and it would wear off, and I would just sit in my apartment, just depressed and crying and alone.
Dede's next plan was to end her life.
Where I lived was over a bridge, and I would always think as I was driving home, I could easily just turn the wheel just a little bit, and my car could just plummet. The very next thought was, well, you don't have any friends anyway, and your parents don't even know where you're at, so no one would even come to your funeral, so why kill yourself?
Dede desperately wanted to change.
I had tried everything else I knew to fix myself. The drugs didn't fix me. The relationships didn't fix me. Nothing I was doing was working.
Dede bought a Bible and began reading the scriptures she had known as a child.
When I was reading it, I learned that I could tell God the truth about how I was feeling. I didn't have to be eloquent and educated in my words, and I could just tell him, God, I've made a mess of my life. It is a complete wreck. And just asking him to forgive me. And I just remember weeping.
Dede realized that she was forgiven of her sins and had found the source of love she always desired.
And I felt so filled and so loved. There was no doubt. There was no doubt. No doubt in my mind whatsoever that this was it. This was it. This was the real deal.
Dede found a church home, joined a women's Bible study, and began to grow in her relationship with Christ. And God brought Avery into her life. They married in 2003 and had little Ava a few years later. Dede is expecting their second child in December.
I went searching for life and happiness and somewhere to belong or someone to belong to, and value. And life in Jesus, he gives you that value. When Jesus saved me, he saved me. He saved my life.